Hey everyone! Have you ever wondered, what if you've unknowingly committed art appropriation? It's a complex issue, and many of us might not even realize we're doing it. So let's explore what art appropriation is. Art appropriation, as defined, involves using pre existing images or objects with minimal alteration to create a new work, recontextualizing the original to convey a new meaning. Art appropriation means taking existing art or images and using them to create something new without significantly changing the original. The key is that a new work uses the original's meaning in a different context, giving it a new interpretation or message. Think of it as a remix or a reimagining pre existing art. The artist isn't necessarily trying to copy the original, but to use it as a starting point for their own creative expression. Here we have the types of art appropriation. First is material appropriation. Material appropriation refers to the act of taking physical objects from their original cultural context and displaying them elsewhere, usually in museums or similar settings. This often causes disputes about ownership and the cultural importance of these objects. For example, taking parts of an ancient Greek temple and putting them on display in a museum raises ethical concerns because it removes the artifact from its original place and potentially disrupts its cultural significance. The act raises questions about who owns the artifacts, who has the right to display them, and how to best preserve cultural heritage. Non material appropriation refers to the adaptation or reproduction of intangible cultural works like stories or music across different cultures. For instance, the song Anak by Freddie Aguilar has been translated into various languages, highlighting the need for original artists to grant permission for such adaptations. Unlike material appropriation, which is taking physical objects, non material appropriation deals with the adaptation or reproduction of intangible cultural works, things like stories, music, or dances across different cultures. Subject matter appropriation. Subject matter appropriation occurs when cultural motifs or themes are used in new artworks, often requiring the artist to seek approval from the original culture's authority. This type of appropriation can be controversial, especially when it involves communal artifacts, as it may lack legal or ethical processing. So, subject matter appropriation refers to using elements from a specific culture's art, history, or symbolism in a new creative work. This can include using traditional patterns, religious icons, or storytelling styles. The key issue is that it often requires the artist to obtain permission from the culture's representatives or authorities to avoid misrepresentation or cultural insensitivity. If not handled properly, it can be ethically problematic and potentially legally problematic. If not handled properly, it can be ethically problematic and potentially be legally problematic as well.
Object appropriation. It involves the use of tangible elements from existing artworks, such as models or products in advertisements. For example, if an artist alters a palmolive shampoo ad by changing colors or positions of objects, it constitutes object appropriation, raising questions about originality and intent. Object appropriation happens when an artist takes a physical or visible element, like logos, advertisements, or real products, from an existing artwork and integrates it into their own. This raises questions about originality and the purpose of the new work. Is the artist commenting on the product, criticizing it, or just copying for attention? So in object appropriation, the intention matters. Next is the form or style appropriation. It focuses on the visual elements of an artwork, such as colors and textures, that define how a subject is depicted. Artists often borrow stylistic elements from original works to create new interpretations, which can lead to discussions about artistic influence versus imitation. Form or style appropriation is when an artist imitates the look or design of another artwork without copying its actual content. For example, they might adapt the color palette, brush strokes, or texture techniques from a famous painting to create something new. This often leads to discussions on whether the artist is simply inspired or actually imitating the original style. Next is the content appropriation. It involves the replication of the story or message conveyed in an artwork. When an artist reproduces the narrative or themes of another's work, it is termed motif appropriation, which can carry various implications depending on the context and intent behind the reproduction. Content appropriation refers to the idea or message behind an artwork. Even if the form and objects are changed, if the underlying meaning is taken, it may still be appropriation. This is sensitive because it may involve cultural stories, beliefs, or historical messages, which require respect and understanding, especially when used by someone outside that culture.
Lastly, motif appropriation. It is the repetition of specific subjects or images in new artworks. For example, using the recurring motif of shampoo in different shapes and scents in various artworks is considered motif appropriation, which is generally viewed as less controversial compared to other forms. So it is a form of art appropriation that occurs when artists borrow design elements, pattern, or symbols from another culture's art without necessarily imitating its overall style. Intention of appropriation of art appropriation. The intention behind art appropriation often involves recontextualization, allowing artists to comment or reinterpret the original meaning of an image. This process can create new meanings and provoke discussions about the original work's significance. So, the intention is to recontextualize existing images and objects, prompting viewers to reconsider their original meaning and context in light of the new work. Kaya, because of this intention, more like na ay new definition or new symbol ang art or sa art.